Richard Bennett, Fellow of the ITIF. Richard, is it time to shut the FCC down? Have they done such a bad job with this latest net neutrality situation that we need to get rid of them?
I wouldn't shut them down. There's still some very important things that they have to do in terms of managing the spectrum, which are sort of closer to the original charter than meddling with net neutrality regulation.
Where are we then on this net neutrality thing?
Well, I think we're actually at a point where, despite a lot of complaining, I think we're close to a situation where we can finally resolve this issue, put it to bed, and get on with some more important things.
That's good news.
It could be. I tend to be optimistic about these things, but you remember this is a debate that's been raging at full steam in Washington, or at least off and on, for the last 5 years, and with no real progress. I mean, there's an op-ed in the Mercury News today that could have been written 4 years ago because there aren't any new facts that have really come to light in a significant way recently. So it's become clear that the obsession with net neutrality has prevented the policy community in DC, the state capitals, and actually in Europe and the rest of the world from focusing on much more important broadband initiatives like increasing the speed, penetration, and ubiquity of broadband coverage around the world. And so to the extent that we can resolve this issue, at least to the point where there's not massive rebellion against the resolution from all sides, we can get on with these other issues.
Can the center hold? Is there a strong enough coalition to actually fight off both the radical left and the radical right who are opposed to the current proposal?
Well, that's a political question, and I think we'll find the answer to that probably in the next. It's going to take us probably 3 to 6 months to find out if we can get a durable compromise. But certainly within the industry, there's a fairly strong consensus that depending on the actual details, and unfortunately the chairman of the FCC, Chairman Genachowski, hasn't shared the details of his framework yet. The details are satisfactory if they fit the broad outlines that he gave in his speech last week. The network operators, the content providers, the entrepreneurs doing business in the internet space are all going to be behind it, and we're just going to have sort of radical elements of the Tea Party on the right and the radical leftists like Free Press who essentially want government to own all the networks anyway. If that's the only opposition to it, I think it can make a lot of progress.
So, in principle, then, the solution that's been put forward can help American innovation when it comes to the digital economy.
Certainly could if it lives up to the expectations that people have. But of course, remember, Andrew, that there's never really been substantial disagreement about the broad concept of net neutrality or the broad concept actually of the open internet. Everybody's always supported that. It's sort of like motherhood. The disputes that we've had have been over the really specific kind of in the weeds implementation details of those broad general concepts. And to the extent that we still don't actually know what those are in the FCC's plan that's going to be discussed on the 21st, we could still have a problem.
A lot of Silicon Valley notables have come out in favor, Ron Conway, for example. What can entrepreneurs, technologists who are watching this show, what can they do to try and get resolution? Do they put pressure on their local congressmen now?
I think that would help. I mean, we certainly need to depoliticize this and allow. What the FCC should actually be doing, I think, when we have such a broad consensus among parties such as Google and Verizon and AT&T and Comcast, and if Netflix can get on board, there's a broad consensus among that group of industry figures who've been battling with each other, then it seems to me that the appropriate thing for Congress to do is to defer to that consensus.
Has Genachowski, you think, done a bad political job? He seems to have alienated a lot of people.
Well, he's had, I think, equal amounts of people complaining about his performance from the left and from the right, which I think in this sort of an issue, It's like umpiring a baseball game. If you don't have people on both teams that are complaining about the calls you're making, you're probably not doing your job.